What's going on, everybody? Today is Thursday, April 24th. We are talking episode 9 of Survivor 48, the final 9 of Survivor 48. Um, is a bit of a shocker for me. David goes out 6-3. It took a long time to get up from that stool, didn't he?
He did.
That's what happens when you knock on it. It glues, you can get glued to it.
Yep.
Um,
You know the old saying, knock on the stool, get glued to the stool.
yep.
Famous.
Everybody knows that one. He should have too. But I was a little shocked just because of like how last week went. Seemed like this group was maybe going to just keep delaying the inevitable. But no, David is going to go home, and I thought it was decent shock factor. It was a good mix of like it made a lot of sense, and I was a little surprised by it.
Did you think so? I thought this was what was going to happen coming in. We just did rankings and
Yeah.
we differ on that too. I don't know. We're diverging when we're usually a single line.
Well, so coming in, I knew he was going to be in trouble. I guess I didn't think that he was definitely going home.
What happened was what we were proposing was going to happen with David, where they just backed him into a corner where he just became a contradiction, and then they were like, "Well, this doesn't make any sense for any of us if he's the one pushing this and he doesn't even believe it." So they turned
Yeah.
up. I don't know. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was David's time, and based on like it was like he had a very nice character arc. I thought we haven't seen like such a complete arc. I don't think in a character in a long time, because he started out, the nice, you know, I think he actually started out as the I don't know anything about Survivor guy,
Hmm.
and he became like the nice, lovable, social player that was strong and carried the women on the swap tribe, and then his villain arc began, and he started, trying to Boston rob the alliance,
Hmm.
and ultimately that like became his only personality trait, and everyone else got fed up with it instead of. I thought it was a very nice, like, I felt complete with his story. Like, it was the perfect time for him to go. I thought the editors did a good job telling his story.
Yeah, and just to eulogize a bit because I know he's a divisive player. I feel like that was a really good summary. What you said, I liked all those through lines. I feel like he brought something good to the show. Like he had a different set of values, if you would call it that, like within the game. And you know, you don't have to agree with his worldview or his game view in this case. I don't really agree with a lot of what he says and does, but I still think it's refreshing. Like he reinvigorated the kind of like ethical debate of Survivor. He's accusing
Mm,
people of going back on their word. Like when's the last time somebody was seriously like confronted someone else and was like you went back on your word, like, and used
right.
like those, like, that's so teens season of Survivor coded. And like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's more interesting when you're trying to appeal to other players in the game when they just have like a more diverse set of motives. Like some people you got to appeal to the logic, and some
Mm-hmm.
it's the emotional. And with David, it's staying consistent, it's being loyal. It's just a different kind of layer to the typical new era dynamics, and I think it's especially more interesting with him as a juror now. I think if Joe and Kyle and Shaheen, like, I would bet one of those three at least is going to be sitting in the final tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I miss individual jury questioning, because I think David he would be a great scorned juror. I think so. Like
I hope
very
that.
high horse, and he'd be great.
I hope that's a Survivor 50 question.
Oh, I'd love that.
Bring
Yeah.
bring back individual juror questions. Um, that'd be awesome. But I don't know. I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think he's gonna be a scorned juror. I thought that on his way out, and then he gave his little exit interview, um, and I thought he had a pretty good take. I'm not remembering quite what he said in his little post while the credits roll
Hmm.
confessional, but I thought it was, from what I remember, I thought it was a pretty balanced like opinion. Oh, he said something about peep, like there are no what I've learned is that there are no heroes and no villains out here. They're just people. Something
Hmm.
to that effect. And I was like, that's not what I expected you to say.
Yeah.
But I'm like pleasantly surprised by that take, and that's what made me think he, you know, is gonna vote for. He'll probably still vote for someone who is his ally. Maybe not the person who played the best game, but he wouldn't vote out of spite. I don't think.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think he'll definitely vote for one of the people that he IDs as like a strong player,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that he will necessarily use like that as the merits upon which he's voting for. Like it'll be a baseline requirement that'll create like a short list for him,
Mm-hmm.
and then he'll operate within that. I did think he was like almost trying to sound oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I just had it and I lost it. Profound. That's he was like trying to sound profound, but it also was a good point that I'm like he's
He
it
was
is
sounding
true.
profound.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, this is pretty good stuff. Um, maybe it's just because I knew how the internet would react to like this
Yeah,
fucking douchebag thinks that he
yeah.
he
Well,
invented thinking.
that's the internet take is that like this guy comes in here and he's saying when is a strong white guy ever won Survivor? And everyone was like, every fucking season before 40.
Yeah,
It's like the consensus take, which they're not far off. So, I don't know. For someone who only watches new seasons, was what David seemed like. Um, I guess that's a I don't know. It's still not a really a valid
yeah,
take, but like you can still like pitch that you want to play that type of game without making a comment on like Survivor strategy or winners as a whole. You just be like, "This
yeah.
is who I am. This is the type of game I want to play. What's wrong with strong guys teaming up? Not like when has this ever happened? It's like the
That is a
majority
great.
of things that have happened."
That was always my favorite thing was he punctuated so many of those rants with like I don't know if we've ever seen this before. And I'm like, buddy, we've seen it greater than 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Like at least some iteration of like either the staying strong to the end, the all the strong people teaming up together, the all the pretty people.
Mhm.
Like it's basically every characteristic of his alliance
Mhm.
has manifested in some form in just about every single season of
Right, and
Survivor.
that's like the point of Survivor. It's like, yeah, like the social experiment of like, oh yeah, well, like in life, like the pretty strong, good-looking people get advantages, right? And
Hmm.
it's interesting to see that manifest in a game as well. And like for him to be like, this never happens. It's just like so just not right. But I don't know. There's a prevailing take online too that the season has been boring. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think they think it's people think it's boring because of what we were just talking about with David and like the strong people sticking together and like it's like it'd be like the boredom that you would get if you went back and rewatched some of like the not as great like teens or single digit seasons where like strategically like not much is like changing week to week. I think is what people are
Hmm.
feeling. Uh, but like we've talked and said, it's pretty refreshing to see that, and I agree with that. I don't think it's necessarily boring at all. I think that there's some pretty interesting personalities on this season, even if the strategy isn't changing drastically week to week. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just feel like chaos. It's like chaos sometimes, and it's nice to get away from that.
I think if you, as long as you have good characters and they're like, okay, if you're not surprised in the last 10 minutes of the episode, fine. But there's, if you could fill the time with like you have Star and stuff like that, like go to that well more often.
Star
Like
is the
seriously.
best. I would die for Star. Just
Yeah.
like Joe would die for Eva.
um, but yeah, the other thing too on David, did you see his exit press where I forget who it was with, but well, he probably mentioned a bunch of them, but where somebody was like, yeah, so the whole girlfriend thing, like we heard she was gonna lose you if you didn't win the million, like how's that going? He's like, yeah, she left me as soon as she found.
I did
Then
see
he's,
that.
but then he's like, oh, I have another girlfriend, but I was like, damn, so she. I felt like he was overblowing it. Maybe she was really just like, okay, we're not. It's like having a baby to save the marriage. It's
Right.
like okay, if you win $1 million, you could save the
You're
marriage.
like, I'll stay with you when you have $1 million. He's like, fuck it, I'll apply for Survivor. He's like, I'm holding you to that.
She said, "Not in a million years, but how about $1 million?" Question mark.
I'd like to be, I'd like to get an unbiased like perspective on how that happened, because like I feel like it's his truth, right? It's not
Yeah,
the truth.
yeah,
So, like, to be a fly on the wall in that relationship prior to him getting cast on Survivor, I would like to know exactly what happened. But
yeah. Oh, I think it's 100%. It was over, and he's you're going back to the well. You go back to the well as many times as you need to. Let's be honest, but
mhm.
uh, and he just pulled this one out of his ass where he was like, "All right, I know it's over, but I could win $1 million." I think that's probably why he was so mad at the end.
Like, how many times do you think they had the fight? Like, you need to get. You can't be a stuntman. Like, you haven't made a career on it yet. Like, you're still living in this trailer in your parents' yard. Like I can hear the fight like it's on like a TV show. And he
Yeah,
goes, "This is what I love. This is my dream." And like back and forth, and like they're both, like have validity. So like, and then yeah, like what you said devolves into what you said, and he's like, "I'm gonna be a stuntman, and I'm gonna apply to be on Survivor. I'm gonna win $1 million, and I'll be a stuntman with $1 million."
yeah. He just needs to go on the challenge. He would be really good on the challenge.
Yeah, yeah. He could
He would be
put
very good.
what's his name, who was on Traders, um, give him a run for his money. The
Who?
villain from the
CT or Johnny?
no, the other one. He's like
Oh,
redhead, get the
Wes.
beard.
Wes.
Wes,
Yeah,
yeah.
dude. He Wes and his like fast and loose like alliances or like however he wants to characterize those
Hmm.
against David with his like steadfast. That would be a great
Well, that was
immediate.
kind of well, not really, but there was like a showdown, like a that was kind of how they were pitching the Joe versus David this week. When
Yeah,
that wasn't really the case, but Wes is like a foil to David for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Um, other things. Just from this, I mean, so Mitch was the decoy tonight. He did receive 3 votes. It was Mary, David, and I believe Star was the third Mitch
Right.
vote.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of thought that Mitch would maybe go this week. Just with in keeping with kind of the theme that they were going with last week, just letting Chrissy go for kind of no reason. Um, I did think that is very interesting how Camilla just out of nowhere she was kind of the boot last week. They switched it off of her, and then again this week Mary's like, I'll do whatever, and David's like, I'll do whatever, and then he's like, well, I know Mary kind of wants Camilla, and then Mary's like, I do want Camilla, and David's like, all right, Camilla then, and they get off it though. Camilla no votes again. I thought that was pretty. She's skating through that little Camilla, and I think she's good now. I think she's fine
Yeah, I think she's gonna be Queen of the Misfits here
now. Mm-hmm.
coming up. But yeah, I think that has. I mean, Joe really drove this episode, and by extension, Kyle drove this episode
Mm-hmm.
because Joe listened to what Kyle wanted to do. Um, and I think, like we said, David really completed his arc here, and I think that would have been a lot more of contention or votes maybe on Camilla if he just wasn't pushing so hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very obvious that him and Mary were a duo, and obvious to us that Kyle and Camilla are a duo. I don't necessarily think that's obvious to everyone else, but maybe it is. Um, and if they were just like I don't know, not running around and like pairing off. I'm talking about Mary and David like constantly and pushing this so hard and being on everybody so hard about it. Like I don't think he would have went. Like
Yeah.
I that's the reason why he went was because he was pushing so hard. Everyone else was still game for whatever, and Kyle would have, I think, rolled for the sake of the alliance if they weren't acting so crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I. That's the thing with David is he is 100% right about a lot of
That's the
things.
problem. Yeah, like everyone complains about him online, and I'm like, he's right though. Like, but he's just not
Yeah,
executing it right.
exactly. Yeah, I think it was Martin Holmes said like he can read the room, he can't talk to the room.
Yeah.
It's pretty much his thing. And I went back to this last week because you know the seeds for this were planted last week, but he he sees the field and he is right, but the issue is Joe and Eva have been together the whole time. They've both been with Shaheen the whole time. They swapped with or Shaheen and Joe swapped with Kyle, and like yeah, he swapped with Eva, but Eva isn't really a decision maker. Like all of these guys that he's working with have developed deeper roots with each other than they have with him. And so when he's saying, "Hey, I'm identifying some mistrust is the wrong word. I don't know exactly what he's like, "Hey, this is something. This is something that's not really in line with our mission statement as the Strong Five." And but he's got nobody to act on it with. Like he's brought in Mary, and that's good for him. But he really needed one of Joe, Shaheen, Kyle to turn on the other two with him,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just never going to happen. But like he was always doomed because even if that did happen, he all he would be doing is flipping someone's view of the other players. Nothing would actually happen because he's not actually willing to vote any of them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a very interesting, like, it's a backwards, like, he was never going to do anything in the game because of that. Because
Right.
there was no willingness to act on what he's like, hey, these are red flags. He said it himself, but there's no willingness to do anything about it.
Well, that's why, like, it doesn't make any sense that he's so mad at Joe for going back on his word when, like, there was, like, a material change to
Yeah.
what was happening. So, like, you can't, I don't
David
know.
voted for Chrissy, too.
Like,
what is
yeah,
it?
this is,
Anything he accuses Joe of, he has to accuse himself of.
like, this is a horrible analogy, but
Last week, not this week. Sorry.
this is a horrible analogy, but, like, if I said to you, oh, I would never give you $1 million. And then I won $10 billion. Like, I would
Yeah.
totally give you $1 million. Like, that's not me going back on my word. That's a material change in what happened. And, like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand why he's saying it, but it's like, I don't know. It's a dumb argument, in my opinion, because he's not in a vacuum, I guess. In a vacuum, no, even still. I don't like. So I don't know. So, and then you get to the final, say Dave, and you get to the final six, and you're like, I think he just if they got to the final six as the strong six, I think in David's mind he's like, all right, I won. Where's my $1 million? Like,
We get to split this 6 ways now, right?
yeah, like he would just then get voted out. Like I don't. He's like,
Yeah.
all right, final six, and then the jury picks from 6 people.
Right.
He's like, I orchestrated all this. I kept this together. I should win the $1 million. Like, there's
Yeah.
no end game plan. I don't know.
And also Joe targeting him, or not even targeting him, but just the way he came at Joe. Like Joe is like Ned Stark, where he's like, all he has, if he has nothing else, he
He's a
has his
code.
honor.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you say like gone back on his word, that's like the biggest insult you can make. Like everybody, he fucking lugs Jon Snow around, pretends that he's his fucking kid.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's jeering him all along, and he's like, nothing's gonna stop me from. He's actually dishonoring himself to honor his sister. This is spoilers, big time spoilers.
Yeah. Here's a better analogy than my $1 million to you analogy.
Mm-hmm.
He's like Marty McFly in Back to the Future when somebody calls him chicken. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, just stops dead in his tracks. If you say to Joe, you didn't honor your word, stops dead in his tracks. And he goes, who you calling chick or yellow or whatever he says in Back to the Future. But he does. He is like this Ned Stark figure where like he would die before he went back on his word.
Which happens.
which happens. Yeah. So
Actually, he does. He actually lies and incriminates himself. He dishonors himself, and then he
and then
gets
dies.
fucking head cut off
Well,
5 seconds later.
that's cinematic. That's maybe foreshadowing what happens with Joe. I don't know. Maybe if we can continue this character line, is if he then dishonors himself and dishonors his own code, he's sealing his fate because that's all that was keeping him alive.
Yeah. So does that make Kyle Joffrey and Camilla is
I would say Camilla is more of Joffrey than Kyle.
Kyle is Ilan Payne. He's the one who deals the. Or Kyle could be Littlefinger, where he's the guy who's like, "Hey, Ned Stark, we're buddies, and for, half the book and for 5 episodes, we're gonna be buddies. It's a good thing you have me because I'm helping you out all along." And then he's like, "Oh shit, this is a better situation for me to turn on this guy, so I'm gonna
kill
do
your
it."
sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Is that the right lineage? Right? Is that Lisa Aaron?
Lysa.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no.
Sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law's husband.
No, Ned Stark's sister-in-law is Lysa Aaron. Correct.
Right, but they killed John Aaron.
Doesn't Littlefinger kill Lysa Aaron?
Oh,
as well?
he eventually does.
Yeah.
That's true. But Ned's head's been rolling around for seasons and books by then.
That's true. All right, there's your Game of Thrones spoilers for the
there you go
for the year.
Other interesting stuff from this episode. We got Eva's advantage. So Shauhin is gonna wake up right after Eva. And he sees Eva leaving the camp. He knows it's her somehow. I'm not sure if I would have told Joe. He goes to Joe and he's like, "Hey, Eva's gone." And this is one of those things where, like, you got to know your audience because Joe is so, like, steadfast and loyal with Eva. And, like, I feel like Eva's going to share it with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up sharing it with him too, which he really looks like an asshole at that point.
Yeah.
Because now he looks like the much more conniving person, where Eva's just going to do the thing, and she comes in under her own power to tell even Kyle about it. And it's like Joe. I know we differ on him in the rankings. Joe is going to win this game because he does nothing, and it works out for him perfectly. Every time where Shauhin comes to him, he doesn't do shit. What happens? Eva's going to tell Shauhin and Kyle about it. So Shauhin looks like a dickhead because he was trying to incriminate Eva to him. Kyle is going to be untrustworthy with this information. He tells Camilla it's going to eventually surface. And Eva, meanwhile, is tanking her own shit by telling Kyle, who, although they're allied now, is eventually going to become her and Joe's main adversary. And he just fucking sits there and brings in all the information, and it's Shauhin's telling him shit, Eva's telling him shit, Kyle's divulging his life story. Like, he doesn't do shit, and everyone loves him.
I think it's because of the legwork he put in advance to build those relationships, though. No,
I do agree. I'm not saying that he's like undeserving of his current position. It's just like it's getting so easy to be a Joe out there right now.
Mm-hmm. It is. I would say that Shauhin probably should not have told Joe. I think you sit on that information and wait and see if Eva doesn't tell anyone, and then you tell Joe. I think Joe is still the correct person to tell, because if you want to be aligned with Joe, which I believe Shauhin does, he needs to break up Joe and Eva in some way that makes sense, which I don't even know if it's possible, to be honest, but like in some way that makes sense for him to start getting firsthand information before Eva, to kind of swing him over to his side. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be a good way to do it is, hey, I woke up and Eva was gone and she probably went on a journey because that is what follows. Yada, yada, yada. It's speculative, but, maybe it's something you need to watch out for. I'm just watching out for your butt type of thing. Yeah. I don't think an advance is right. It doesn't end up hurting him necessarily. I don't think Joe... Yeah. He did do it in... If you're going to tell Joe before... As he did... I think he did it in the right way of like, hey, Eva's gone. She may be going for alliance. Or maybe going for an advantage. Let's monitor that situation, essentially. Not like, let's jump on her and like, she needs to go
Right.
type of thing. He was just kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, let's see if she tells us, basically. And that's what Joe said. He was like, well, I'm sure she'll tell us. And he was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to bed or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she told him, and I don't think it's going to be a thing anymore. I think he handled it fairly well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I guess I would have expected a confessional from Joe about distrusting Shaheen if he was going to act on it, because he is pretty much a straight shooter, especially in confessional. So
I think Joe read it as Shaheen was being a straight shooter. He's like, hey, I happened to wake up and saw Eva was gone. Like, you're in my alliance. I thought I should let you know. Type
yeah,
thing.
no,
But
I do agree with that. I just think it's like his loyalty to Eva is so strong that I just don't know if he would view it as Shaheen trying to like plant seeds against her.
yeah.
Because I do think it could be interpreted that way. But as far as Eva's actual advantage goes, she gets to play a little bit of Scrolls of Choice here. She has... So just by arriving, she is now the proud holder of an extra vote. But she can
Yes.
risk the extra vote for a safety without power. And I'm curious what you think the more beneficial thing is. I think the extra vote is maybe more valuable at this point, because I see like it's going to be a real tight end game where it's like, despite actually in line with David's wishes, it's like it's the world he built, but he's not going to be here to enjoy it. Is all of his friends they still want to play the game together, just not with him anymore.
Yeah.
And they're all going to get pretty close to the end, and it's going to be really tough to navigate. Because like Kyle and Camilla, that's not breaking up. Joe and Eva, that's not breaking up. Like, if you don't have Shaheen on your side, if he's even there still at that point, like an extra vote could come in really handy pretty late in this game. Although I think did she say it expires at 7? Maybe
6, I thought.
6? Okay. And 6 is a great spot to play it. But yeah, I feel like it's pretty valuable. And like the safety without power, I think you got to know that you need it, kind of.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's definitely a situational thing. I would argue that safety without power is more powerful than an extra vote. So it
mhm.
makes sense in every case for it to be the second level, the second tier of that, and the
Yeah,
extra vote to be the one that's given. I don't think you could argue that it is less powerful. I think it is more. I think where the debate comes in is which is more advantageous, and I think that really depends on your situation. Um, because I mean, the idol, or it's basically an idol, right? Safety without power,
yeah,
essentially. Like, uh, because in most cases, if you're playing an idol, you don't just need one extra vote to swing it.
hmm
You're just getting like fucking all the votes, essentially.
yeah,
Essentially, because most people play their idols when they know they need to play them, and that's because it's not going to be close.
yeah,
So I think that in Eva's case, I agree with you. I think that the extra vote is more advantageous for Eva in this situation. I think if it's Mitch or Mary or maybe even Camilla potentially, I think the safety without power is more advantageous. Just because they're clearly like on the outs, and um, they may need more than just an extra vote to be able to swing that.
yeah.
It also throws the tribal into chaos, and then you never know what's going to happen after that. So, um, do we think in the third one was an idol for you and an idol for someone else? Was that what it was?
No, I think it's just an idol.
I thought there was something about your an ally or something getting something.
Maybe I glossed over it.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I well, so the debate between the extra vote and the safety without power. I also think part of it too why I would take the extra vote is just because you already have it and you have to risk in order to get the extra vote. You have to risk to get the safety without power.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the safety without power, based on the dynamics, it kind of plays lower than its face value, whereas the extra vote at this point kind of is playing above its face value.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I would go with that. I do think leaving the idol is the correct thing because it was 1 in 3 chance. She already has an idol.
Right.
And the safety without power, like you said, it's as good as an idol to like the 75% truth there. It's just you don't have an impact on the vote and who goes home. And if it's you would think that with 2 votes between her and Joe, anytime they would have to play an idol, they'd probably be controlling who goes home because you have to have a majority of people voting for you.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't think that giving up essentially an idol for an idol is worth a 1 in 3 shot.
Yeah, I agree.
Basically. So
because it's also the point where like if you just have things this late in the game, like you just have infinitely more possibilities than some of the other people. Like that's why I put Eva like spoiler for the rankings. I put Eva number 2 this week because she is like pretty close to a lock for at least final 4 for me because she has the safety without power. She has the idol. Joe is never going to turn on her. And on top of it, it's actually maybe a benefit to her that she doesn't really have a strategic bone in her body. And it seems like every time that there's a strategic conversation and she's present, people are like talking through her. Like the like David and Joe conversation. She's standing right there. And I don't think either of them look at her the entire time. And I know that was more of an argument, but like she still kind of just like she sits there and she like just tosses in a random fucking comment and then people either agree or disagree. And she doesn't really impact anything, but she should be able to have the tools to get at least really close to the end, if not there.
Yeah, the thing, Eva has the same mindset as David is like, I've put my trust in these people, and if they put their trust in me, then we're just gonna get to the end together. Why would I need to do anything?
Yeah.
Is her
she
kind of
continuously says in confessional.
Right. Yeah, exactly. She's like, I mean, Joe kind of does that. Joe is like low key strategic.
Yes.
Like he like will be everything about the alliance, everything about honesty, everything about integrity, and then just like rattle off a one liner about something that's super strategic, like randomly. And I'm like, all right.
Well, he's funny because he's like David and I think he's talking to Kyle. I think it's after Kyle opens up about his like personal stuff, and it hilariously ends with both of them not liking David anymore. Mm-hmm. And Joe, I think he explicitly says, I think he calls David a manipulator. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, so I gotta go sway Eva, and I know Eva likes David and Mary, so I'm going to have to get in there. I'm going to have to be specific about what I say. And he just explains how he's going to have to manipulate Eva, even though that is why David is a villain.
Yeah.
Which I don't disagree with him doing that. It's
just funny.
That's the game. It's just funny. Yeah, right. Speaking of that, Kyle, we got some good Kyle information. We learned that Kyle went to jail for, it sounds like 30 days.
Well, yeah, I have a question about that. Like, for an open container?
That's what it sounded like. I saw people being in an uproar about this, and they're like, "This is like the fucking justice system," and I'm like, He said misdemeanors plural, and he mentioned some other. It sounded to me like he was not a first-time offender. That's probably what I would assume is the reasoning.
Right. From what obviously
it is still crazy. 30 days. You got to be you got to be on the shit list to get 30 days for an open container.
So
or you might just have to be a black guy.
Yeah, that's the only prerequisite.
Yeah.
So obviously he doesn't have to air out his entire criminal record in this
Yeah.
on this show.
He also said
But
for
good.
holding a beer or something like that. Is I believe what he said. So
And
again,
he
I
said
have
he went through he said multiple misdemeanors, and he said he got an underage, which
yeah. Who fucking
who
cares?
hasn't?
Right.
And which was one misdemeanor, which that's even pretty crazy not to get that removed from your record if you get an underage
Yeah.
for when you're in college or high school or whatever. Like
Hmm.
if you're 16 or 17 and you get like an underage, and the judge isn't like, all right, like community service, and then like we'll strike it from your record, like that
Hmm.
sucks.
Yeah.
But and then an open carry, I'm assuming in college, which is like,
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
how many times have I walked down the streets of Oakland with a with a beer? You know, like like if those are the only two things he did, like 30 days in jail, are you kidding me? But like it like didn't line up
Yeah.
for what he was saying. But
And I mean, I've got stuff. And so
yeah,
I stand with Kyle. I know it's making it sound like I am anti Kyle here, but no, I sympathize with him. I'm just saying that yeah, it sounded like there was there could be more to it, and if there's not, then I totally am on the same page. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you get 30 days for that?
right, yeah,
It's
exactly.
crazy.
Like that's community service, and
Yeah.
like if
That
I've
was
ever
funny
heard
though.
it,
He's like, I actually got. He's explaining it and all the shit that he had to go through to like still take like tests and stuff like that. And then he's like, I actually got pretty good grades.
so you didn't have anything else to do but study, my guy.
Right.
But I mean, like even I don't know. He like specifically said it was never for anything violent, and like even if you like if you get arrested for open container like 4 times, like are they
Yeah.
really gonna send you 30 days in jail for walking down the street with a beer?
Right.
Like what or something?
You just make him wear like mittens or something like that, or
Yeah, right,
gloves.
exactly.
It's like you can't use these anymore. In the old days, we'd chop off your hands for this,
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
can't carry. It's like he's an upstanding citizen besides the fact that he can't keep. He doesn't even drink it. He's just like he keeps one cracked in his fucking hand for no reason.
Yeah, and going back to like people who are good looking, I mean, he was a good looking college athlete. Like
Right.
people talk about, if you want to be mad at the justice system for people getting preferential treatment, good looking college athletes are near the top of that list.
Yeah.
So I
That's
don't
true.
know
Somebody had to make an example out of him.
that
It's
you could get
probably
a judge that swings the other way too, who's
yeah.
is exactly what you're saying. Is like, can't let these good looking college kids get away with
Yeah.
everything. 30
Sound
days
like
in jail.
you sound like Chrissy right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, other stuff, random things from this episode. We did get so the episode opening, two interesting things. One was just funny where David and Camilla, he goes up to Camilla and he's like, "Yeah, I floated your name like just in case Chrissy plays a shot in the dark," and she just goes, "Yeah, it's fine. You're a terrible liar. Don't worry about it." And he's like, "Well," and it's like, "No, it's
Really
I like
okay.
that." Camilla does. Star talked about it in Tribal Council. She's just like, let's just rip the fluff out of here. I have no interest in fluff.
Yeah, she is. They're both like, she's still the comic relief in a sense.
Oh, I love Camilla. She's the
Yeah,
best.
her and Star both. Star is purely comic relief. She had
Yeah.
everyone howling at Tribal.
Yeah.
And Camilla is like, yeah, she's like strategic comic relief. I don't know. It was funny though.
Yeah. The other thing too from the opening is so Xiaoheen. So in the rankings, he's tied for third for us. You had him all the way at number 2. I had him at 5. So my thing with Xiaoheen is like we got even more Xiaoheen content to start the episode. This is like he has the winner content. Like it is there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's in such a precarious situation, and like so I had to give a Dunchain this week, and I was thinking about who I was going to give it to,
Mm-hmm.
and I started just kind of like forecasting how I think the rest of the game is going to go, and I really struggle to see a way that he gets there.
I think he's in the middle. I don't think he's precarious at all.
I know, but when it's two duos that will not turn on each other, it feels like Well, I think there's a non-zero chance that of them like working together to get rid of him. And then
I don't know. I think Kyle and Jill both like him a lot.
but Camilla has it out for him a little, which is ironic because she's the one guy that he really wants to. Like he has blinders to Camilla,
Mm-hmm.
which is a problem because she's a good player.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that it's gonna end up being they're gonna. I don't think it's gonna be next week. I think it'll probably be the following week. I think maybe they'll vote on Mary next week or something,
Mm-hmm.
and or Mitch even, um, and then I think they're gonna be like Kyle and Camilla are gonna be like, all right, we need to make a move against Joe and Eva here because it's us versus them.
Yeah.
And I think Shaheen's going to be in the middle of that, and you get to pick a side, and then he can maybe round up the stars and Marys of the world and make a
Mm-hmm.
push against the duo that's left. So like maybe maybe Kyle and Camilla take Eva out, and then the rest of the people along with Joe take out Kyle or Camilla, and then Shaheen's the one that's remaining. I think he's very in the middle. You're right that it could flip on him very, very quickly if the duos decide to work together, but I just think he's more in the middle than it's a chance that both sides who want to work with him flip on him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is my
I just
pitch.
think the Kyle Joe connection, like knowing that Joe is probably the one guy that Kyle has some blinders to at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe just being who he is, I would think he probably like wouldn't really turn on Kyle for a little while longer. Like
Mm-hmm.
in Shaheen, I do have a feeling that David going at this point could open the floodgates for some of the more strategic players, and that to me, my number one and number two players that I'm looking at there are Shaheen and Camilla.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with Camilla for sure. Shaheen, the problem is his name is like always floating out there,
Yeah.
and it usually doesn't manifest into anything. And I end up like leaving every week being like, all right, everyone was on Shaheen's side, and he's solidly in the middle. And then the next week starts, and I'm like, fuck, maybe it is, maybe it is Shaheen. And then they just rope a dope me again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I think my read is that he's in the middle, but I understand why you would think why you
Hmm.
have your opinion as well.
Yeah. Um, Also, I guess while we're on the topic of rankings, we had Joe and Kyle tied for first. Um,
Fittingly.
yeah, I think that like I'm with you on Kyle. I really like Kyle as a player. I just Joe with his edit, I kind of gotten to the point where I've like staked my claim that I'm pretty sure Joe is gonna win,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just not really gonna move him out of one unless I no longer believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But it needs to be like proven with beyond a reasonable doubt at this point. Like I'm so entrenched in it that like you got to prove it 120% in order for
Yeah.
me to.
I get that for sure from the edit. I still personally don't think he wins, but I understand that the edit is reading that way.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm staying on Camilla because that was my take from the beginning that her edit was weird, and that means she wins because Saran
Mhm.
doesn't know how to edit female winners. Um,
She does
uh,
have a good edit. Like last
she
week,
does.
Jeff had the thing about like when they were picking partners, and she was like, "Oh, I might like." She was essentially saying like, "Oh, I usually get picked last for stuff I was expecting to get picked last," and Jeff was like you always say that, or like that's a big part of your story. He like said something along those lines, and we haven't seen that at all. And like shielding comments like that is a good edit.
Right.
Like when people, I love when people are like, well, what really is a good edit? Or like a good edit doesn't exist. It's like, no, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
like that didn't wasn't critical to be in the episode, but they specifically put it in the episode.
right.
Yeah.
And
So
they specifically leave it out at other times
yeah,
to make it
exactly.
look stronger.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stay on Camilla just because I'm a man of my word.
There you go.
I'll go back on my
David
yeah.
would never accuse David of
Say,
not
yeah, say
being
I
the man of
changed
his
my.
word.
Here's a better analogy. Say I changed my opinion on who the winner's gonna be. Am I going back on my word? No, there was a material change in the season.
That's true, but promise is a promise. I don't know.
Yes, true.
I'm gonna feel scorned. A
Yeah,
podcast
I'd
co-host
say
scorned.
Camilla, and uh, just to disagree with you, my second pick is Shaheen.
Listen, he's up there for me too. I think it's probably for me, Joe, Kyle, Shaheen, Camilla. Probably.
Kyle, I don't know what it is. He just doesn't. It's not the edit, and it's not the way he's playing. Just doesn't give winner vibes for me for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just a vibes thing.
That's interesting because I feel like he's maybe the heaviest
Well,
winner vibes.
no, well, oh, just vibes, not edit.
Well,
I'm separating the
vibes
two.
from the edit.
Oh no, I'm saying personal, internal me vibes. I don't
Yeah.
get winner from it, but if I separate him from the edit,
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know why it is. It's just a feeling, but I put, I don't know. I think Kyle and Joe are in the same tier for me. They're just
They are for me too.
below Camilla.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So Joe, Kyle tied for first. We also had even Shaheen tied for third. Like I said, my logic, Eva is up there because of me, and it's just the safety factor at this point.
That's fair. I just don't think she's very good.
Camilla 5. We kind of talked about her a bunch. Star at 6. Star learned how to swim this week.
She did.
This is like the people outside the numbers are really just ripping side quests.
They are.
This like
I want to put Star higher. There's just so many good people left. I put her as high as I possibly could.
This is as high as possible. Yeah. She got a good deleted scene actually. I don't know if you saw this.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it about a half hour before we started here, where it's another one. I really think she is a finalist. Where
I agree.
At the beginning of it, she's banging the drum of like, I'm trying to get to the final 3. And it's her talking about how she's going to go around everybody and ask who's in their final 3. Because if you don't have an answer, you're either lying or you're dumb.
Yeah.
And
that's valid.
so she asks Joe, and Joe's like, "Oh, I haven't really thought that far ahead." And she's like, "That was a test, and you failed." She doesn't say it to him, but she says in confessional. And then she asks Shaheen the same thing, and he has the same thing. He's like, "Honestly, I haven't even thought that far ahead." And she's like, "That test, you failed." And it's just a great thing, and I like that it proves she's thinking strategically, even if we don't see it in the episode, which I like. I also think the very clear, correct answer to approach that if someone's not in your final 3 is, I would probably say, like, I would probably give the non-answer like that it's fluid, but I would follow that up immediately with, but like, I could see a way that you and me are both there, if we want to talk about that right now.
Right.
And you can make fake plans all day long.
Yeah. It's better to make a fake plan. See, this is the opposite. This is where I would get into trouble this season. It's better to make a fake plan than to not make a fake plan, which would get me voted out of this season.
Yeah, right. Well, that's like, I mean, we're like big into like fantasy football and stuff. Like, that's all I do all day is I float trades to people, and then I go hard as fuck trying to get them to accept it. And then right as they're about to accept it, I'm like, do I really want to let that person go? Probably not. Boom. That's a fake plan. I just made a fake plan.
Boom, fake plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Put that one on ice. That's the fake plan. There you go.
Yep. Save it for later.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, whenever we do our final projections before the finale, she's my third place finish.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Doesn't matter what happens. She could get voted out next week, and I'm putting her third place.
Yeah. And I think actually before we talk about the other two, it might be a good time to transition to
Chung chung.
the Dunn chains. So David is gone. I did do David last week. You already had David Dunn chains, so good week for us.
Mm-hmm.
David was my player, so it is going to be mine to give.
Hmm.
Just a little recap where we're at. So you had Say, Cedric, Chrissy, and David all gone. You still have Mary and Mitch.
That's looking good.
Yes, it is. And as far as me, I have Charity, Say, and David all gone. I have nobody
That's looking
unchained
better.
that is in the game. Yeah. So the reason why I did this is because Mary and Mitch are number 7 and 8. And these are the two that I was between for the Dunchain this week.
Hmm.
So with 8 people left, it appears that we are pitched on next week there being a 4-4 natural split on the beach, which would be the strong 5 that is now 4, Joe, Kyle, Eva, and Shauheen against the 4 kind of stragglers of Camilla, Star, Mary, and Mitch.
Hmm.
I don't believe for a second that this is going to be 4-4. It seems very obvious to me that it's actually 3-3, and that Kyle and Camilla are going to be the swing votes here. I think probably what I am expecting is one of Mary and Mitch to go home. I know it's a pretty appetizing time for Shauheen or Joe or Eva to go. I would bet either Mary or Mitch goes. And then I think at 7, I think 6 and 7, one of the other two will go, and one of those 2 votes will be a big move. I could see, and this is a place where we disagree. I could see Kyle and Camilla teaming up with Joe and Eva to get rid of Shauheen. I could see them teaming up with Shauheen to get rid of Joe and Eva. My issue with that is, like, knowing that Eva has the idol. If Joe wins immunity, like, what do? You don't want to stake your whole game on the fact that Eva's not going to play her idol.
I think that may be why one of Joe or Eva goes next week.
Oh.
Is because they know Eva has an idol and they don't want Joe to win immunity, so they might try to flush the idol.
Yeah, I do think
That's my opinion.
If
they
Joe
would vote
loses Eva,
yeah,
I do think if Joe loses Eva, yeah, I'm fully on the train of one of Kyle, Shauheen, Camilla wins a game.
Mm-hmm.
I would immediately throw Joe in the dirt. That's there.
I don't want to play with you anymore. And Andy from Toy Story meme.
Yeah.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
So it's pretty much down to Mary and Mitch. So Mitch, he was the decoy this week, in keeping with kind of the trends of this season. Does kind of seem like last week's decoy is this week's target, typically.
His edit has just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah. He is like I saw people being like, they did the meme of like, do I like him? No. But is he entertaining? Also no. But does he do, like, and it's just note everything. Or somebody was like, Mitch's confessionals be like, and then it was like, we won reward today. That means we get to eat. I lost immunity today. That means I can get voted for tonight. I'm not in the numbers, which means I'm scared. It's just like, that's it is like his whole thing right now.
Yeah.
It's just.
He is really funny with, like, trying to come up with plans and pitch stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, you have no idea what's going on.
It's shades of Jake O'Keen, where it's like, he's just trying and banging his head against the wall. And everyone's like, actually, we're fine. We don't really need another person. He's like, I will be a number. We'll vote for food. And they're like, actually, we're fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
We don't need numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss Jake. He's good.
Yeah. And then Mary. So I am going to Dunchain Mitch.
Okay.
And I just think that Mary. Maybe it's just because I saw her talking to Camilla in the scene for next time.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like she is more immediately game to jump on whatever the plan is. Yes, she was pushing stuff in the strong 5, strong 6 alliance, but ultimately what she did was she just jumped on the train with David and was like, lead me. And I could see her being like, hey, I just lost my guy. Camilla, come scoop me up. And I do think, like, we haven't talked about the lasting impacts of David, because to me, it looked like they had such a lead that I'm like, you could shave off David. Like, who the fuck cares? Even if you lose Mary, who cares? Because Camilla's involved. But I think now that the gloves are off, like with David going, like there's no more honor, integrity, anything. And I think Camilla has really been waiting for, like, Kyle's in this alliance. He's keeping her safe. She's been waiting for her opportunity to really play the fuck out of this game. And I think that, like, next week, this could be a real rising of, like, Camilla. Like, she's been able to tell Star and Mary and Mitch, like, hey, like, I'm on the outs with you guys. And she's not totally lying. And she's really able to round up all these people and then, like, add that with Kyle's agency. Like, that's how she wins, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the only part that gives me pause is, like, is she willing to work with Mary immediately after Mary was gunning for her so hard?
I think she is, because where does Mary doesn't have a leg to stand, a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of.
Well, that's what Camilla, that's where I think Camilla has the advantage. It's like,
Yeah. That's why I'm saying
yeah.
I think she is willing to work with her because she really, like, has no
agency.
There's no way she has an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
There's nothing else for her to do.
Yeah. There is no alternate.
Yes.
Alternate.
Yeah.
You. Yeah, I agree. I think that Camilla's the queen of the queen of the floaters.
Yeah. Which I would like to see her win in that way.
Mm-hmm. Me too. She's my pick to win.
I pretty much am like, I think, yeah, Joe, Kyle, Shaheen, and Camilla. I know it's half the cast. That really is like 100% of the winner equity is there.
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think there's a prayer of Eva, Star, Mary, or Mitch.
What if 3 of them make it?
Right. Mathematically, it has to be possible. Especially for Slot and Star in one of those spots.
It's got to be Mary. Has the rest of the winner equity. Eva could too, I
think
guess.
Eva would win in that, yeah. If all 4 of them go to a treble cast. Yeah, because she would have Joe. She would probably have David.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or no, wait, David and Mary. Oh, I don't know. Was Kyle about to say, like, they look like a couple? Is that why he stopped himself?
I think he was going to say husband and wife. Probably. Yeah. That's kind of what I thought too. I don't know why he wouldn't say that. What does it matter?
It was like a... It's very funny how, like, that's what happens after I, like, lose a video game and Olivia's, like, standing within arms.
Like, I'm not about to say
she's
what
like,
I was
hey, it's
say.
okay. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I lost my game. I lost my immunity challenge. I'm so... It is crazy. You almost won that.
Like, you know these fake people on this TV that I'm so upset about?
Yeah. I wanted them to knock it out, and they did. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why he was... I thought he, like... Usually you do that when you're, like, gonna swear or something where you shouldn't be swearing.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna say that they look like they're married.
Yeah, like, who cares?
That's what I mean.
Well, I mean, David, he was gunning for that woman back home.
That's true, yeah.
And I think Mary said that she had a boyfriend when they filmed, and now she doesn't anymore. So, he was just trying to protect...
this is why.
Kyle's a good dude, man. He was just trying to protect people's personal lives.
Kyle is a good dude.
Yeah. Also, last thing, our voting last week, we were with the people on all counts.
Mm-hmm.
The bird necklace was like over 80%. And then
per that one account that does it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
it's a large enough sample size.
Yeah, I think getting tribe supplies was like 60% of people wanted it. And then it was like, yeah, like 66% roughly. I think it was like 2/3 of people said not as many twists and stuff. So
that's good.
I'm
worried that they don't ever reveal what the totals were and they just say what it was and they just pick what they want.
Yeah, that's probably... it is one of those things where it is very risky business where they have such a cult following, and to do this where you're like, we're putting in your hands, like, if you don't actually do it to like 80% accuracy, people are going to be pretty pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And the people voting in your fucking link in the middle of the episode are the diehards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dad has watched every episode. He's not voting in these. He doesn't care. He's,
Yeah.
it's the diehards. You got to cater to the diehards.
And Jeff knows, he knows what the people don't like and what they do anyway.
Yeah.
They do stuff anyway. And he knows that the people don't like it. And
He can't stop himself.
yeah. Like, I'm surprised that they put some of those things on there as options, even because of how much they like doing it. And that's why they make it so arbitrary. Because, like, what does less twists mean?
Right.
Like, we did that. And the person's going to be like, no, that's not what...
Like,
what
we
we
did
thought.
one less twist than last season. What do you mean?
We didn't bring back the turn back time. twist.
Yeah.
What
If
else
you voted
did you
for
want?
that one, that's what it would have been. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about does it for this week. So, however you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, feel free to check one of the other ones out if you want to see our beautiful faces, quote unquote.
Here we are.
Yeah. Here we are.
Everything is arbitrary.
Yeah, that is true. Everything is subjective. You can also follow us on TikTok, the.reality.gurus. I have another tier list or not tier list, but another blind ranking keistered right now. It's in
Nice.
my drafts. I'm just waiting for this episode to drop because I say at the end of it that there's a new episode out. So
Oh, nice.
this
Had
has
to
to go
wait.
up first. Otherwise, tune into the NFL draft. See if the Steelers draft Shador Sanders.
I know everybody's a Steelers fan.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.